Hey, happy Sunday, everybody. How goes it? Hope everybody's doing well. Got a good house out here in YouTube already. Yeah, first Q&A for a video that actually got posted. The first video of 2020. And that's talking about the difference between 2D, 2.5D, and 3D vectors, models, machining, etc., etc. Um, I've got my eye on a couple of other videos to do, stepping way back into the basics, as I've been getting a lot of questions on more of the basics. And to be honest, I really got away from the absolute beginner series with these videos and got a lot more advanced as I went along. And there's a lot of the basics I skipped. So let me first of all go. We'll do a roll call here. I know awesome wood things in the house. Leo Steger, Bob Helta Bridal, poster of all things funny and borderline taste. Uh, Kurt Brugel, checking in from Wisconsin. Walker Woodle. Excuse me, I almost called you Walker Woody. Sorry about that. You've never heard that before in your life? No, never. Leroy CNC Woodworks. Jeff over at Restorer 66. Dave Kraus, welcome aboard. Dave Crook, how you doing? Kevin Els, John DeRuse, Steve from Harneal Media. Ayal Peleg from Israel. Congratulations on receiving the box there, Ayal. Let's see. Javi's Woodshop. Good morning, Mr. Javi. Or good afternoon. Good grief. You're almost ready for dinner back there. Jim Hester, Leroy Johnson, Parth Patel, Podman, Wilbert Pino, and Richard Poland, Michael McCrite, Gary Hammett, Terry Murphy, Barry Walsh. Man, we got a full house today. Thank you all. Cesar Escobar, Les Clemens. That's howdy, everybody. Thanks for joining me. The CNC Swede, excellent channel. You got to go over and check out his stuff. I've been a subscriber for a while. He's got some neat projects over there. So it's great to see somebody with a name here. It's cool. ESC, first look at my videos. Well, thank you for stumbling across me. I'm easy to trip over. Easy to hunt with. Just kind of here trying to help folks avoid the mistakes I've made and continue to make. So let's see. We do have one off-topic question right off the bat from Parth Patel. How to joint wood planks side by side for a 3D project. Well, I don't know if you mean joint the edges for gluing up, but that's back into the basic woodworking side of the house. You can, you can just run them across the jointer, obviously. You can find a decent quality table saw blade that's going to leave a nice clean edge. A lot of times I find that a jointer really isn't all that necessary. It's good to have, don't get me wrong. Or just go back to the good old standard jointing plane. The mistake I see a lot of people make when getting ready to glue up boards to make a panel is, for some reason, folks want to sand everything. Do not sand those edges. Just, right off the blade, whether it be a jointer blade, a plane blade, a table saw blade, however you joint your boards, don't sand them. Just glue them up together. Try to match up grain as good as you can and let them dry overnight before trying to CNC machine them. So I had a few more folks jump in. Mike Goodwin, out of focus. Percy Kuka, how you doing, Percy? I've seen you out here several times. Dave Gatton, the man, the myth, the legend. How you doing today, Dave? James Chisnall, Rob Sandstrom. Already mentioned you there, Matt Haas at Mr. Awesome Wood Things, another great channel to check out. Steve Gronsky. Um, I all ask a question. Can you explain what is the meaning of the word relief as used so many times in today's video? I figure it refers to material being removed but can't figure the exact meaning. I mean it in the context of similar to well, I'm sure you've seen or heard of a relief map. It's changes in elevation by removing material or um, adding material. Of course, we're using CNC routers, so we're subtractive machining, not additive like a 3D printer would be. But it's changes in elevation, and it's cutting relief is an easy way of saying removing material without confusing it with three-dimensional. If you machine a pocket into the surface of a piece of material, you have a change in elevation. Even though in the physical world it is three-dimensional, on the CAM-CAD side of the house, it's not three-dimensional. It's 2.5-dimensional. So, but that is considered relief because there is a change in elevation. So, let's see. I hope that helps anyway. Let's see. David Crook. I want to try a V-Carve inlay but do not have a bandsaw. Can I use my CNC router to remove the excess wood? I know a lot of people do, David. I don't have a bandsaw that's worth much of anything. In fact, I have 3 bandsaws, just none of them work. So I'm going to be in the same boat you're in. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I've thought about, I've been going back and forth between running it through the planer and just going ahead and milling it off with the CNC. I know a lot of people do. So I'm going to experiment with it. And if it doesn't work out, I know not to do that. So, but that's why I'm going to practice all these things in scrap. I've got a stack of pieces of fence boards out there that I can experiment with, and that's exactly what I'm going to do and see what works and what doesn't. So, I guess we'll learn together. So, Island Engravers, first time actually watching this live, and I have a question. Shoot, that's what we're here for, questions and answers. And welcome aboard. Nice to see some new folks out here. So I hope that answered your question, David. Parth Patel wants to know, have I ever done marble or stone engraving? No, I have not, but I would really like to. I just haven't had the occasion come up where I've needed to do it. I've been thinking about going down to a countertop shop that specializes in slate or marble, and maybe seeing about getting a hold of some of their scrap to practice on, something cheap that I don't have to pay a lot of money for, and just giving it a try. But I have not yet so far. I know it's a whole different world. And not only is dust collection paramount, but it's also some places, some people recommend using a wet system, and since I'm using a router, I can't really, I can't hook up any kind of a coolant. If I had a spindle, maybe, but. So let's see. Justin Hubbard wants to know, do you ever use Fusion 360? No, I don't. I did download it and I did get into it a little bit, and this is just my opinion. For what I do, Fusion 360 is a big, big hammer. If you're doing, if you're machining parts for assemblies and doing like gears or casings or something like that, then Fusion 360 is really for you. It's more for the mechanical side and less for the decorative side, which is mainly what I do. So it just didn't fit. I also took some classes in SolidWorks, and that wasn't a fit either. It's just more than I need for what I'm doing. So I have no plans on doing any videos for Fusion 360. I'm going to be sticking with V-Carve and Aspire. And in fact, later on in the year, I'm going to be getting a lot deeper into 3D modeling, as well as backing out and doing things that folks who run V-Carve can also do. So let's see. Cesar Escobar, I'm new using a CNC. I'm trying to carve some stars, and for the life of me, I can't get it to work. Help. I don't have any videos specifically on stars, but it depends on the problem that you're having. If you're either, are you trying to draw them up, or you already have the design and are just trying to machine them, or what, So just depends on what you're trying to do. Let's see. Leo Steger, my brother surfaced a 36 by 120 piece this week on his CNC. Yeah, Leo, but your brother is showing off. I mean, his machine, it's bigger than my house and probably cost more money. So, Jeff over at Restore 66 says Corian countertop cut just like hardwood. I've not machined any Corian yet. I've cut it in cabinet shops and countertop shops when I was working in that life, but I've routed edges and routed joints and what have you, but I've not CNC'd it. I need to get a hold of some. So, let's see. Awesome wood things. 3D model software to be used on the Gatton CNC. What is the easiest, cheapest option? Well, okay, Matt, you need to know this. You can have easy, you can have cheap, you can have good. Pick two of those, but you can't have easy and cheap. I don't know if that helps you or not. Now, I can't say that. There are some fairly easy, cheap options out there. But remember, much like the machine itself, you kind of get what you pay for. I was introduced to V-Carve Pro back in, let's see, the first version I downloaded was the trial version of 7.5, and I bought just after the release of 8.0, and I've never looked back, and I've never had a moment's regret. So, let's see. Simple 2.5D stuff for my question. Well, see, that's the beauty about 2.5 dimensional is you don't need anything on the CAD CAM side for using a CNC router. You don't need anything special. If it'll do a two-dimensional drawing and generate G-code, it'll do a 2.5 dimensional drawing, because that is set on your Z-axis when you calculate that dual path. So, Parth Patel, do you know how to make a parametric design? I can't answer that because I don't know what a parametric design is. I'll have to look that up. Justin Hubbard, do you know if there is a way to make your own clip art files for V-Carve? There used to be, not anymore, and that was discontinued long, long ago. Now, basically, you're down to using Aspire. That's what all those clip art files are made in, is Aspire. And the folks at Vectric have the tools to make them compatible with V-Carve. You used to be able to, what are they called for V-Carve? I know in Aspire they're called 3D clip files. I don't remember what they're called for. I want to say V3M files that are used for clip art. And there used to be a utility that you could get that would export a model as V3M, but you couldn't draw it in V-Carve anyway. So, let's see. Let's see. Without Aspire. Yeah, that's what I mean, without Aspire. Dave Gatton says he's going to try his hand at Fusion 360. It seems to be the thing these days. You know, Dave, I know you've been using SolidWorks since, the first cathode ray tubes came out. So I would imagine it would be a fairly easy transition for you, just trying to find the different tools. But that should be a hint right there to get over to Dave Gatton's channel and subscribe. If he starts putting out Fusion 360 videos, you'll be the first in line. So, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Scott Simpson. I spent the dollars to upgrade to 10.017 in Aspire, but now my Laguna Swifts, there is no files in my thumb drive. Hit up Vectric tech support and Laguna's tech support, both. And hopefully between the two of them, they can get you straightened out. I don't know anything about Laguna's proprietary controller system, and so I wouldn't even attempt to answer the question. So, let's see. Let's see. Oh, Island Engravers, thank you very much for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Let's see. Hello, Shapeoko, Axiom, Gatton, etc. Can you explain the difference in the rigidity of the gantry on these machines? How the dust shield can affect the flex of gantry? Thanks for the live content. Well, for as far as dust shield, if you mean dust collector, okay, you've talked about three different machines in three different classes. The Shapeoko can handle a dust collector, but they have a gantry that's basically made out of extrusion, aluminum extrusion. I'm not going to say that it's not a rigid gantry. It can be. But the Axiom and the Gatton are both in a different class. Again, I'm going to mention Dave Gatton's website. He has a video that literally he's sitting on top of the gantry, writing it back and forth as he's talking to the camera. I don't know anybody with a Shapeoko that would even attempt that. Probably very few people with an Axiom would attempt that. Now, as far as the Axiom versus the Gatton, I've never been in the same room with an Axiom, so I wouldn't want to compare them. But as far as the rigidity and okay, I see you're saying the skirts. Yeah, the skirts of the dust collector, unless you're using, some very, very rigid material for dust collector skirts, it shouldn't have any effect at all. I mean, if you're using brush or vinyl strips or some sort of a soft plastic, it shouldn't have any effect at all. But I'm trying to think of anybody I know who has both a Gatton and an Axiom so they could compare them. And I just don't know anybody. So, but as far as rigidity of them are concerned, I don't think you could go wrong with either one. I'm a big fan of the Gatton over a ready-made machine for several reasons. Number one, by the time you're finished with the build, you know every inch of the machine because you've had your hand on every single piece and part. Number two, it's the customizability of it. You can make it as big or as small as you want to. So it'll fit in with your size requirements and your budget. Number three, for the price, it's the best bang for the buck out there. You can't beat it. I mean, you can spend a lot more money. Yes, you can buy faster machines and you can buy more rigid machines, but you will pay for it. So it's just one of those things to take into consideration. So, okay. All right. So, let me get down into. I hope that helped you out there. I, I hope that helped you out. Let's see, Richard Poland, did you make your controller box yourself? And what type of controller do I use? I use a Xylotex drive box, which is no longer available. Jeff over at Xylotex, first he was having problems getting hold of motors, and then other problems stepped in, and he has just basically stopped making that drive box, and it hasn't been available for a couple of years now. So, as far as controllers and what have you, I know nothing about it. That's why I went to the drive box. So let's see. Fred Weinberg, is it possible to take a coat of arms? See, it jumped. Coat of arms picture and either carve it or engrave it. Yes, it's possible. Have I done one specifically? No, I haven't. I may in the future. I just haven't yet. But basically, it sounds to me like you're talking about a bitmap tracing, and I do have a video on basic bitmap tracing. In fact, I have a couple. I will put links to those in the description below. And I have another project coming up. It should be coming up in like 3 or 4 weeks where I'm going to be doing a simple bitmap tracing. So, note to self to put the links to my bitmap tracing videos down in the description after this video goes live. So let's see. Have you designed a 3D model for relief carving from a grayscale image? If so, can you point to videos or other instructionals showing how to make smooth, deep relief carvings? Not yet. That's one thing about the Aspire software and the V-Carve software is they work with those grayscale bitmap images. Personally, I have not yet tried to convert an image to grayscale to make it a 3D model. I know it's possible. I just haven't done it yet. So that's something else I've got to learn before I can demonstrate, because I have a very serious philosophical problem with attempting to teach somebody something I don't know how to do myself, or I've only done once or twice. So let's see. If you want parametric, then you are into something like Fusion. Parametric is sizing driven by parameters. Okay, I understand, Dave. Thank you very much for that. Is there a way to cut grayscale height maps images in V-Carve? I will have to look into that. I can't give you an answer just yet. Something tells me that there is, but I don't want to say yes yet. Let me check on that before I commit. I really don't know yet. See, George Allen, what depth of cut do you use when doing raised text for a 60-degree V-bit? It depends on the look that I'm going for. If you're just wanting to put a quick chamfer around the edges of the raised text, I would highly recommend you run that first before you machine away the other material and leave that text standing, because that bit touches a thin piece of a letter like one of the arms on a letter E or something like that. It's probably just going to chip it right out of there. It depends on the look you're looking for. I generally don't do prism letters like that, but I can get into it. Let's see. Wilbert Pino, do you have anything on inlays using V-bits? Not yet, but I will be pretty soon. Let's see. Matt, awesome wood things. Can Aspire cut 1-inch material and have the edge be at a slight angle? If so, can this be done without 3D software? I don't think Cut 2D. I'm not well versed in Cut 2D, but I don't think Cut 2D has a fluting tool path. I know V-Carve and Aspire has the fluting tool path, and you can create that angle with a fluting tool path. You can also cut it using angled bits in several steps. But so the answer is yes, with a caveat. So let's see. Javi is working with Parth. Great. I know I'm way behind on the comments. I'm trying to catch up as quick as I can. Lots of comments and answers for Island Engravers. Thank you again for the super chat. Let's see. How to find the half angle of a tool. I've got a new tool coming. I should be getting it Wednesday, I believe, and I'm going to get into just that discussion about adding a tool to the database using half of the tool's profile. I'm getting a bottom cutting CNC roundover bit that I'm going to play around with, and one of the videos on it is going to be showing how to get half of that tool's profile entered into the tool database, or imported into V-Carve or Aspire, so that you can enter that tool into the database. So that's a video that's coming up. Awesome Wood Things. Did that grayscale comment just answer my previous question? No. Let's see. Looks like I am. Caught up with the questions. Thank you for giving me a breather, y'all. As far as cutting angles in pieces of material, you have several different ways of going about it. If you're talking about angling an edge, you can use the fluting tool path. You enter in the width of the flute. I mean, I have a couple of drawings drawn up where I was going to cut a scarf joint for a neck. And what you'll do is you lay down the piece of stock and you create a real wide flute that runs at the angle you want it to run at. Like I'm going to do a 15-degree angle, carving that 15-degree angle on the end of a piece of stock, and then glue the headstock at that 15-degree angle on my neck. Well, I didn't see much sense in having the CNC do that because I can do that on other tools, so I never pursued it. But I know the model can be made and it can be machined. So I'll get back into it. So, let's see. KG says CNC Nuts has a video on making CNC inlays. CNC Nuts was the first CNC person I ever subscribed to. That's Peter Passuelo down in New Zealand. I found his channel before I ever met Dave Gatton, and I've learned a lot from him. He's got a lot of good info there. There's a lot of info on not only using the CNC, but adjusting, setting up jigs, and fixtures and things of that nature, checking the angle of your bits, and doing just kind of oddball things, here that most folks wouldn't think of. Like checking the angle of your V-bits. Your V-bit might be a 90-degree V-bit, but that's what it says. Is it really? Like I found two of my V-bits were actually 89 degrees, and the quality of my V-Carves went up because of it. He's got some great videos over to CNC Nuts, so I highly recommend that channel. Lee Painter, Roger Webb has a few videos on the grayscale carving in YouTube. Yes, he does. And he's also got a good channel. He treats his channel more like a television series, though. It's actually pretty good. He's got some good production value. So, Gary Anthony, what program do you recommend when upgrading from desktop? Well, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to expand V-Carve capabilities and use some of the gadgets, or maybe you have a larger machine, then I would go with V-Carve Pro. If you're looking to get into creating your own 3D models or editing models that you have, then I would suggest Aspire. But step back and take an honest assessment of what you actually intend to do with your machine and what you hope to make as on the CAM CAD side of the house, and let your budget dictate from there. I mean, lots of folks find it easy to recoup the cost of a software upgrade like that in the first few months of operation. If you're a small home-based business, it might take a little longer than that. But upgrading tools is, to me, it's never an expense. It's always an investment, because your ability to do bigger and better and offer more services just makes you more valuable. Having said that, I will also say it is very hard to turn a profit from 3D work. I tend to reserve 3D work for gifts or projects for the family, and I don't sell much 3D because you have dedicated a lot of machine time to carving that model. And just as just my opinion, it's hard to charge a shop rate for something that's going to take 11 to 14 hours to carve. You know, you do the math, and you'll see you price most people out of the market before you even start. So let's see, Javi over there helping Parth, and he's a good man to talk to. Javi has run CNC businesses in the past and did it for several years. So let's see, John Morrow. Hello, Mark, John. Have a great chat. Well, thank you, John. Glenn Bright, checking back in. Wanted to say thanks for the advice on not running from the thumb drive after loading the code to the computer memory. I'm having very little trouble. That is very, very common, Glenn. I used to do the same thing. And we're talking on one of these old, I don't even know if this is in gigabytes. I think this is like a 20 megabyte flash drive. But it's so small, the only thing that'll fit on it is G-code. So that's what I use. But it's also so slow that I have to transfer the files off the flash drive. So that's just the El Cheapo, that's my Scottish showing. I've got it, I might as well use it. Just, you have to transfer it off of the flash drive onto the computer. So, let's see. Percy Kuka jumps in here. He said there's an order to make some guitar pedal boards. One of the plug sockets is 31 millimeter by 31 millimeter. Okay. The customer wants a groove to avoid the visible gap at the corners. Okay. Completely doable. That gets back into, I'm planning to pocket 34.5 millimeter square with 3 millimeter end mill, then cut the inside square of the pocket to the, sounds good to me. What you're attempting there, Percy, sounds good to me. I would preview it a couple of times. If you can test that cut on a piece of scrap to make sure it does exactly what you want to do, that's the way to go. I mean, that's why I keep a bunch of old fence boards and pallet wood hanging around, just to try things like that. I would definitely give it a shot. So, okay. Gary Anthony, thank you, Mark. Love your channel. Well, thank you, Gary. I really appreciate that, and I mean it, y'all. This has really surprised me like crazy. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to the subscription counts, but I'm at 13,300 subscribers, and I just got to say, you guys rock. You guys are really, really awesome. Over the holidays, the channel kind of blew up a little bit. I know I'm still a extremely small guppy in a huge ocean. So I I just wanted to say thank you. You guys are incredible. I really do appreciate it. Please keep the suggestions coming. I get my ideas for videos from you guys. And so when you have questions, when you hit me through the contact page over on my website, marklindsaycnc.com, sponsored by Steve Nealon over in Harneal Media. Um, Keep hitting me through that. That's the best way to get a hold of me. I really, I really can't answer PM requests or chat requests like on Facebook because there's just not enough time. There's just not enough hours in the day. Like when I'm done here, I got to get out in the shed and I got to make something for for the video 3 weeks from now. So if you need to contact me, hit me through the contact page. I do get to everybody. It might take a while because I am way behind. So Javi is over here pumping up his channel, and I really, really am glad to see him say this public. I've been begging him for months. Maybe he's doing it to shut me up. To do a series of videos on carving different materials. I mainly work with wood, but I constantly get questions about acrylic. Javi's done it. I get questions about Lexan, aluminum, signboard, stuff like that. I've never done it. Javi has. He's going to start a series of videos on carving those more difficult materials. Talking about, proper setup, feed speeds, all that other good stuff. Man, I'm looking forward to it because I want to know too. So get over there to Javi's channel and subscribe to him so that we can be some of the first to check him out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing for me. I mean, this is killer. I love these live chats, and so I'll continue doing these. So next week we're going to get back into the basics again. I had a 50-50 choice on which video I was going to do for this week. And I chose this one and promptly got 3 questions about the next one. So that's going to be next week. No foreshadowing. So I will... here we go. Jim Hester has a question real quick. Just now tried an experiment for carving grayscale height map. I put a butterfly shape into Microsoft 3D Builder. Never heard of it. We'll check it out. And processed it as a contour. Saved it as an STL and opened in V-Carve. Looks like it might work. The model size is enormous and I'll have to figure out how to get it smaller and thinner. I'll work with it some more. Microsoft 3D Builder. Gonna have to look at that. Microsoft 3D Builder. Okay. Might check into that. Thank you very, very much for that, Jim Hester. Gonna try it. Yeah, Javier says, I hope people can follow me. Unlike Mark's straightforward approach, I'm all over the map. Yeah, Javi bounces around a lot. He's squirrel, but that's okay. He knows what he's doing. The Dirty Knobs wants to know, what is Javi's site? Put your cursor over here in the live chat. I'll put a link in the description below. But put your cursor over there in the live chat right next to Javi's name. See those 3 dots? Click on those 3 dots and you'll see a little menu pop up. Number 1 is Go to Channel. Right click, select Open in New Tab, and off you go. You're right there. Then you can subscribe to him. And then follow his adventures. Password is bamboo. So, Builder is free from Microsoft. Thank you, Jim. I'm going to be checking that out. I'm going to be checking it out. Okay. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Have a great Sunday, y'all. Get out there. Make some chips. Y'all take